armored vehicle stops. The soldier on top is looking through his scope of his rifle. He's scanning across, and he points at me. I say to myself, he doesn't have a reason to shoot. He keeps scanning, and then the vehicle drives on. This is what it's like to be part of what it's like to be in Northern Ireland, 1987. But I'm hitchhiking, and I identify as naive, and I just love it. I'm an adventurer. So I keep going. I managed to get myself a ride with a guy named Liam. He's a Catholic that wants to avoid the border crossing. He wants to avoid those soldiers at the border crossing to Southern Ireland. And so he takes the back roads, and he takes me through the bootlegger runs to be able to get to the hills of Donegal. And then he leaves me in the middle of nowhere. Well, I'm all alone on this road except for the 8 children that start to come out of the forest. They look to be like 5 to 7 years old. They're like dirty the way children should be, but they got this look in their eye like they kind of haven't had it easy, you know? They kind of gather around me and start asking questions. Where are you going? What you doing? Where are you from? That's why I answer their questions, it's fine, you know? And then one of them, I guess he's like the ringleader, he kind of got to the point. And he says, so, have you got any money? Some change, like? I say, no, I'm not going to give you any money. Then he gets a bit menacing. He says, give us some money. I said, no, I'm not going to give you any money. Oh, he didn't like that. He looks at me and he says, he looks to the others, he's not going to give us any money. That's because he's a cheap bastard. Well, doesn't that get the rest of them going? He's a cheap bastard, won't give us any money. And the worst thing is, there's chiming and going on, it's nightmarish. And I start to ask myself, maybe I am a cheap bastard. What the hell am I doing during the Troubles in Ireland in the middle of nowhere hitchhiking down a dirt road alone? But then I quit. I seize myself and say, I got to get out of here. I break myself away from these mean children and I storm down the road and I feel free and adult again, you know? I can still hear them like 50 yards away. Cheap bastard. But I get a good ride about an hour later, get myself to Ballyshannon to the music festival I was looking forward to. Music, fun, relaxation, just exactly what I wanted. And I think, you know, it's been about almost 3 years we've been in this pandemic, and it feels sometimes like you're in danger. It feels like it's never ending at times. But the fact that we're here telling stories tonight means we are near our Ballyshannon there, people. We've arrived. But I got one last question, though. Have you got any money?
It's 2020, and my father, it's right before he stopped speaking. He tells my sister and me, you know, I don't really want a funeral. I've got a better idea. What I'd like is for your families, for everyone, to meet in Central Park at my bench, my special bench, and everyone would be eating dark chocolate and drinking a martini. And then you can sprinkle some ashes around my bench. My father is an ad man until the end. He even has props and the set. He's imagining what it's going to be after he goes. The sad thing is that he dies during COVID. So for 2 years, we try to get people together from 3 countries, and every single time we have a date, another wave hits us. But it doesn't kill the grief. And my sister, finally, this fall, writes to everybody and says, okay, that's it. We're holding a ritual for Dad. Whoever can come, comes. It's going to be right after Christmas. And I do want to go, but I don't want to go without my girls, and they're not able to go. But on the 27th of December, we meet in New York, and we steal into Central Park. We go past Tavern on the Green, and we sneak over to my father's special bench. And my sister unpacks the contraband, and we look out for the police and find out that actually it's just a baby jar half filled with ashes. But there's just enough for us to each sprinkle a half a teaspoon all around his bench. And after that, the fun begins, because we tell some crazy stories about this nutty guy. And then we take photos by his bench, all different people sitting and looking in different positions. We realize we've forgotten one of the props, the chocolate and the vodka, but we're all good actors. So we pretend to eat some chocolate, and then we pretend to sip on a martini, and we hold that martini up, and we give my dad a last goodbye. To the pop of all pops. You know, I'm not really into rituals. I've skipped most of my graduations. I got married at a justice of the peace. I'm not really religious, but spending these moments with my family, honoring my dad and saying goodbye, lifted hundreds of pounds off my shoulders, and a few pounds of grief too. Thank you.
My first kiss was in Rome in the springtime. I'm 16, and I'm on a madcap tour of Europe with some fellow graduating classmates. Right off the bat, some kids got in trouble in Amsterdam for exploring the nightlife a little too enthusiastically. But not me. Oh, no. I'm a good kid. But tonight is different. My friends and I heard through the grapevine that there's a place that we can go dancing at that's right around the corner from the hotel. Tonight, I don't want to be good. I'm in Rome, the capital of Italy. It's go time. We get all dressed up and we step out into the cool evening air, ready for anything. We hear the bar before we see it. There's loud bass that's pounding rhythmically from behind the door. We follow the music down a flight of stairs that leads into a dark basement. I scan the room and see a few of my classmates bopping around. I also see quite a few boys I don't know. Oh, European boys. I need a drink. I go up to the bar and I order a vodka cranberry. It seems a little bit more sophisticated than my usual Smirnoff Ice. I'm standing by the bar, nervously and self-consciously sipping my drink, when I notice the silhouette of a boy approaching me. Oh my God, he's approaching me. Okay, well, before I know what's happening, I'm being swept out onto the dance floor, sticky under my feet, the smell of spilled beer and this boy's cheap cologne filling my nostrils in an intoxicating mix. He's European, I can tell from his accent. Not that we're talking much. Suddenly, he pulls me in closer, his hands around my waist. My heart is racing. I know what's going to happen next. Well, when in Rome, am I right? Our lips touch, and ew! What is he doing with his tongue? Ah! This is not at all what I expected. Ugh, gross. When it's finally over, I catch my friend's eye from across the room. SOS! She comes running across the room, pulls me away from my prince, and we leave the bar shortly after. The night air feels different against my skin, and I think to myself, well, this will make a good story one day. And here I am.
My son is extremely hairy. He's not here tonight, so I feel like we can talk about him. Now, it's gotten to the point where the dust bunnies in my home, they all look like his little scruffy mini-me's. And much like him, they don't pick up after themselves. No, and if I even mention the concept of shaving, he acts as though I'm asking him to cut off his manhood. And he's not having that. But like, quite frankly, I'm really tired of living with a man who looks like my rabbi. So I had to get wise to this topic. And I did it like any single mom would do it, swift and fast, kind of like pulling off a Band-Aid. So I set the mood. Him and I, we were deep into a game of chess. Nose to nose, chin to chin. And I looked him in the eyes and I said, son, you and I, we are so genetically connected. We are peas of the same pod. And he was excited. He's like, really, Mom? Why? And I said, you know, kid, those hairs that are growing off of your chin, they grow exactly like my pubic hairs. I have never seen that kid run so fast to the bathroom, razor in hand, zim, zam, zoom, those hairs were gone. I'm talking like checkmate, okay? But as a mom, I'm a little concerned, because I think I might have scarred my kid for life. No, that was a deep gash. That was deep. Thank you.
The puppy is smaller than all of the other dogs. The speech therapist is trying unsuccessfully to get my son to repeat this sentence. The puppy is smaller than all of the other dogs. Don't forget to look at my eyes, she says for the umpteenth time. My son mumbles, puppy, as he's staring at a flickering fluorescent light in the ceiling. I'm getting frustrated. The sentence is too long for him. He can barely put together 2 or 3 words, and he has a lot of problems enunciating words and sounds. There's no way that he's going to ever be able to repeat this sentence. Thankfully, a few minutes later, the session is over, so I take him for a hot chocolate at a crowded coffee shop around the corner. From the day he was born, my son has lagged behind all of the other children his age. His speech was extremely delayed, and he had a lot of problems with a lot of sounds. Family and friends would try their best to encourage him, and myself. They'd say things like, boys mature slower than girls, and don't worry, he'll catch up eventually. But he wasn't catching up. He was having a lot of trouble. When he was 2.5, he was diagnosed with autism. And in a way, this was a big relief, because at least his slowness in speech could be explained by something. When you have a child with developmental delay, you try your best to get him as much help as you can, and you try to encourage him as much as you can. But sometimes it's very hard to be optimistic. So these are all the thoughts swirling around in my head when my son puts down his hot chocolate and looks up at me as if he solved an impossible math equation. Papa. Yes? There's moments in life where there's a silence that's so immense that you can't even describe it. The music in the coffee shop had stopped. I couldn't hear any conversations. All I could see were his big blue eyes connecting with mine. Yes? Papa. And at that moment, he delivers a loud, clearly enunciated, grammatically perfect sentence. Papa, when I grow up, I'm going to have a big penis. The whole coffee shop erupts in laughter. A really old couple sitting next to us gives him high fives. My son doesn't seem to notice any of this. He goes back and drinks his hot chocolate as if nothing has happened. I don't know if I should scold him for his lack of coffee shop etiquette or congratulate him for having such lofty goals. But one thing I do know, and I'm sure of, is that I'll never, ever underestimate him again. Thank you.
Acts of service, words of affirmation, gifts, quality time, and physical touch. You know what these are, right? The love languages from a book written more than 30 years ago by a guy named Gary Chapman. When my partner tells me that his love language is food, I'm a little perplexed and a little skeptical. Like, you like to cook, you like to eat. It doesn't mean you love me, it just means you love food. But what do I know? I didn't read the book. I don't know much about the love language theory, but what I do know or what I've heard is that if you don't make an effort to speak the love language of the other person, they can start to feel unloved. So I don't want that to happen. So the other day, actually, I decided I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna speak your language. You have a long work day ahead of you. I will take care of dinner. So when the time comes, I reach in the cupboard, I grab this chickpea risotto rice, and I start to cook. You know, I'm cooking the onions and stirring, and I pop in the rice and the broth and the tomato and the portobello mushroom, and I'm tasting it as I go, and every single bite is just so awful. It's so bad, and I start adding things to try and fix it, like more salt and some pepper and a squeeze of lemon and some nutritional yeast, and it just makes it worse. It's like eating garbage. It's sour and weird and just wrong. And then I check the package of this risotto rice, and I see that it's expired more than a year ago. Yeah, and I'm starting to feel sick, too. And that's when my partner comes home from work. Now, you've worked a very long day at a very demanding job, and your partner has just prepared you a pot of poison. What would Gary Chapman do? What would you do? I can tell you what my partner did not do. He did not say or do a single thing to make me feel bad about my inability to make an edible meal. And I realized that love isn't always something that you have to do. Sometimes it's what you don't do that speaks the loudest.
Every single day, Hillary S. comes to school with 2 perfect French braids. Miss Moore always lets her write on the board, and Hillary can do something no other second grader can: backflips. Luckily for me, in a couple years, Hillary is gonna get like weirdly, grossly obsessed with Harry Potter. But at this moment in time, I'm 7 years old, and there is nothing I want more than to be just like Hillary S. Hillary does gymnastics. I start taking gymnastics. Hillary does ballet and jazz. I sign up for classes at the same studio. And I know that my plan to single white female Hillary is starting to work when our parents make carpool arrangements. Not only that, but before bringing us to dance class, my dad is gonna take both Hillary and I for dinner at my favorite restaurant in town, Subway. We get there, my dad goes to order at the counter, and Hillary asks where the bathroom is, so I can wash my hands before eating. I mean, I know this is something we're, supposed to do, but I didn't think anyone actually did it unless someone told them to. But I need to wash my hands too, I say, and I make a beeline for the bathroom so I can beat Hillary to the sink like this was my idea. Now, I need Hillary to tell everybody at school, not only do I have a refined palate, but I am also hygienic. And so I need to do this by the book. First, water, then soap, I can see that there's like pink soap through the window in the dispenser thingy, but it's not coming out. And Hillary, standing behind me, is starting to tap her foot, waiting for me to finish at the sink. I give it another desperate tug, and then the soap dispenser goes careening through the air, spinning like it's Hillary doing one of her backflips. And that's when my vision goes pink. Something that smells like bubble gum is slithering down my leotard and seeping through my tights, and I know I can just forget about my chignon. Hillary's jaw falls off the rest of her face, and she runs to go get my dad. And then later, he drops her off at dance class alone, and I sit sullen in the car, looking like some piece of hubba bubba that's been chewed up and spit out. And I know that today, my plan to rise in the social ranks of elementary school, they failed. But it's okay, because later that year, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets comes out, leaving Hillary with an obsession that is way bigger than mine ever was.
I'm 11. It's the dead of night. Well, it's 10:30, but yeah. And I'm heading to the kitchen, and I'm up to no good. So you see, we're a family of 5. There's me, the youngest, my big brother, my big sister, my dad, and my mom. My mom is one of those healthy moms, the type that packs you a healthy lunch. None of those like fruit roll-ups or bear claws or whatever, no. No, we each got 1 apple, 1 big tuna mayo sandwich, and a juice box. That's it. So I'm 11, and I'm in front of the fridge. I open the door. My face gets illuminated by the light. I'm so excited. I pull open the vegetable drawer, and I rip open the plastic bag to pick the most juicy apple of the bunch. And I go back to my room with my treasure in hand that I devour to the core. But once I'm done, I'm still not satisfied. I want more. So you see, I always had issues with self-control, and I also hate drinking water because it tastes like nothing. Like, seriously, why would you drink something that tastes like nothing when you could be eating something that's hydrating and that also tastes like something when that something tastes like apples? So yeah, I was thirsty. So I went back down to the kitchen, and I got another apple and another one. But at some point, I started thinking, if today's Sunday, and yesterday was Saturday, and Saturday is the day we do the groceries, and if my mom buys apples for each day of the week for my big brother, my big sister, and me, and we're 3 kids, and there's 5 days in the week, so I'm 11, I suck at math, but I know I'm in big trouble. So I started rearranging the plastic bag to hide the hole I created. And I put onions underneath the bag to make it look fuller because, yeah, and then I think I'm out of the woods, right? Yeah, so comes Wednesday and there's no more apples. And everybody gets mad at me. My mom's mad, my sister's mad, my brother's mad. My dad laughs it off and tells me I should share with my siblings. And I feel so bad about it. And I do it the next week. And the next week after, and the week after that. So yeah, because I have problems with self-control. So yeah, that's it.
So I was on a bus the other day, and I'm sitting there looking at my phone, and I hear, and I look up to see this white woman giving me this death glare. And I'm like, oh shit, did I forget my mask? But I've got my mask on. And she doesn't have her mask on. So I'm like, what is going on? I look back at my phone, and then I'm thinking, did I do something wrong? And I realize what I did, which is that I'm sitting in that seat that is meant for the infirm, the elderly, and the disabled. And I think to myself, oh shit, she wanted to sit here. And I look back at her like, is she pregnant? But she is clearly not pregnant in any way that I can see. And actually, half the bus is empty. So she has plenty of seats to sit in. So what I think is that, okay, she's just a good Samaritan. She doesn't like me sitting there because she's thinking that, well, that's not for you. But for some reason, this gets my back up. She thinks I'm an asshole. But here's the thing. Not all disabilities are completely visible. There's plenty of invisible disabilities. And the whole time I'm like seething. I'm like, I should explain this to her. I should get up, talk to her. But then I'm thinking, like, I'm on the bus. I'm on my phone. I'm going home. Why should I even do this? So then at my stop, I get up and I walk with a limp off the bus like I broke my ankle or something. And I keep it up as I get off the bus and I watch the bus drive off. And I think, because here's what I want. I want her to have the self-realization that she is the asshole. That she was wrong. That I'm the good person. Thank you.
So I was 11 years old, a lot of trauma at 11, and I wasn't used to the winter in Canada. I was born in Canada, I just wasn't used to the winter. And my mom would always want me to wear those like thick leggings under your pants, because like it's too cold. She was like, you're gonna die if you don't wear it. You're gonna get gonorrhea. And like, she believes in weird things. But so I would wear those weird leggings, but it made my crotch weird, because like it's uncomfortable having so many layers. So I wouldn't wear underwear. First error. So in elementary school in Montreal, the thing is, all the boys and girls would change clothes together for gym class. So I would, I was like, I don't have underwear on. So I would like, during my break, run to the bathroom, change into my shorts, all is good. But then after gym class, everybody would go back into the classroom. And we had to change like sitting down. So I was just there, and I couldn't find my pants. But the thing is, I already took off my shorts. So there I was, 11 years old, butt naked in class. And there was like, they didn't look at me. I was like a loser, so nobody talked to me. But then I whispered to the girl next to me, hey, do you see my pants? And her name was Adeline. She was a bitch. And she would whisper to her friend, like, ha, Jimmy doesn't have pants. So I was quite traumatized at that moment because I was butt naked. But I have a theory in life. It's only awkward if you think it's awkward. So I just eventually found my pants. And the moral of the story is I still wear two pants. Like, I have two pants at the moment. And if you do that, you don't catch gonorrhea.
Growing up, I never thought of my sister and myself as competing. She was 3.5 years older than me, and it seemed like our division of roles was clear. She was more social and athletic, and I was the smart one. My sister never seemed bothered by this. In fact, sometimes she'd brag about me to her friends. One night in Vancouver, I'm out at a bar, I'm doing my master's in literature, and I get a text message from my sister back in Edmonton saying she's just finished reading Robinson Crusoe. I've never read this book, but I'm training to be an academic, so I'm very comfortable giving strong opinions about books I know by reputation only. So I fire back some standard post-colonial critique about how racist the novel is. My sister pushes back, she says it's more complicated, and we go back and forth like this for a while until I get a message that ends with the sentence, I hope you're smarter than that. Well, now I was angry because not only was she already intruding on my territory of literary criticism, now she's coming after my most prized attribute, my intelligence. I fire back something snide that I have thoroughly repressed. I put my phone away, And when I check it again 45 minutes later, this is what I find. I just thought I'd read something important for once and you'd be proud of me. My stomach sinks. I look back at our messages. She'd never said, I hope you're smarter than that. She'd said, I hope you think I'm smarter than that. I go to the bathroom of the bar and I call her and she's at home crying in the bathtub. And of course we patch things up, but that night I'm forced to confront something about myself that I can't unsee. In my insistence on always being the smart one, I'd been very cruel to someone who had habitually put rivalry aside in order to love me. Thank you.